Okay, and jumping on me. Buddy, get down. And this is just, if you are... Hi, I'm Olivia, and I am a first-time mom with an almost 6-month-old little boy. Whenever I first got pregnant, I did a lot of research to figure out what I wanted my labor and birth to look like. And for me, I thought the best thing for myself and for my baby was an unmedicated birth in the hospital setting. That unfortunately did not happen, and it was really sad not getting that natural birth that I really, really wanted, and I did so much research on. But even with all of that research, I still felt like I was lacking in a few areas. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you guys the 7 things that I wish I knew before I went into my hospital birth. So I just wanted to say that I am not a doctor or a nurse of any kind. I am a huge birth nerd. I love everything pregnancy, postpartum, birth. I like to do things a little bit natural, a little bit, on the crunchier side. And so this is all just based on my own research and my perspective. So honestly, any way that you bring your baby into the world is amazing. But this video is more focused on the people who want to go natural. Maybe you're trying to do in the hospital setting, maybe you're not, but I just think these are really important things to know from my experience, before you go into your birth. So the first thing I wish I would have done differently is don't tell people you're in labor. Of course, tell the people that need to know, like your husband or partner, or whoever's supposed to be in your birth space or a part of your birth team. But I would recommend not telling anyone else. We told our immediate family, and some of them were coming in from out of town. And so that kind of put this pressure on my shoulders, which didn't need to be there. And I did it to myself, but I just kind of felt like, this had to be real labor. Like, my baby had to come soon. Everything had to progress. Like, people were waiting on me. People were expecting my baby to come. And all of that is just unnecessary pressure that doesn't need to be there, especially when you're trying to give birth. Your baby's going to come whenever your baby wants to come. And it's just this added little anxiety that just doesn't need to be there. So I think next time around, I'm going to tell probably no one other than my husband. Okay, the second thing that I would do differently is I would not get any cervical checks. I don't think that checking your dilation really does anything. There's really no reason for it, and I don't truly understand why they do it in the hospital setting. Well, I don't really understand why they do it. They do it in a lot of settings, even in home birth, but I don't really know why. Whenever you're laboring, I was in labor for maybe 18 hours, something close to that. And I went into the hospital, got checked, and I was almost out of 3, which for me, that was so discouraging because I was in my head getting excited, hoping that maybe I was out of 5 or 6 or 7, because I had been in labor for so long and things were regular. I thought I would be further along. And to get the news that I'm only at a 3, that can be really, really discouraging. I know on the flip side, if you have been in labor for a long time and then you get the news that you're at an 8 or a 9, yeah, that can be really exciting, but your 8 or a 9 could take, it could take another 10 minutes or it could take another day. It doesn't mean anything. It really, I think, it's just, you should just trust your body, and that's what I'm going to do next time. I hope to not get any type of dilation checks of any kind. I really don't want anyone touching me down there when it's unnecessary, and I'm just going to trust my body and let it do its thing. The third thing, which I think is really important, and I had heard of, but I really didn't take it into consideration, is to be prepared for labor to stall when you go into the hospital. So I went from being at home, feeling like I was in a safe spot, a safe place. I was in my bedroom with the lights dimmed, with my husband and my dogs. I felt really good. And then we transitioned to the car with bright lights. It was right in the 3 o'clock in the summer. So you've got the heat, the lights. You go into the hospital and it's a bit chaotic. You don't know where to go. You go down these hallways. You go into a weird room. I feel super uncomfortable in a hospital. So that also played a role. I think my body was just like, nope, you're not in a safe place, and you're not giving labor right now, or you're not giving birth right now. So I went from, my waves, contractions were about, 2 to 3 minutes apart, 3 to 4 minutes apart whenever I was at home. And then I got to the hospital and they were like 6 to 7 minutes apart. And so I think that is really common. I've heard it a lot. But it didn't occur to me. Like, I thought things would keep going as they were whenever I was in the moment. So just be prepared for that. The fourth thing on my list would be to know the effects of an epidural. So I wasn't going to get an epidural. I knew I wanted to go naturally. I knew I didn't want any type of medication during my birth. So other than listening to some pros and cons videos about it, I didn't really look into all the effects of an epidural, like what it's made out of, what it can do to your baby, what it does to your body. Like, I knew I made the firm decision I didn't want it, even though I ended up getting it. And so even if you don't want it, even if you're having a home birth, even if like you think in no way, shape, or form could you ever get an epidural, just do research before, because I think if I would have known these few things about the epidural, that I think it could have prevented me from getting it. So I won't go into too much depth about the epidural. I'm going to link a podcast below, the Birthing Instincts podcast, which I think is a really awesome resource. But whenever your body is going through these contractions for the first time, feeling these intense sensations, so is your baby. And so your body, to cope with that, is releasing endorphins, adrenaline, cortisol, and oxytocin. And these things are there to help your body cope. It's like a natural drug that your body is giving off for you to deal with these labor sensations. And so some of what your body is giving off is going through the placenta to your baby. So your baby, who is also going through this intense labor for the very first time, they're getting parts of those things from your body, which is really, really important. And whenever you go to the hospital and you get an epidural, your body's not feeling these sensations anymore. So your body is not giving off these things that you give off when you're in pain. And so your baby is not getting that. And so your baby is just all alone to fend for themselves while you have this epidural and you're fine. But that doesn't necessarily mean that your baby is, which I feel like if I would have known that and thought of it from my baby's point of view, maybe it would have stopped me from getting that epidural. Another thing, it can increase your body temperature, which I didn't know. It can also lower your baby's heart rate, which actually did happen to my baby, which is kind of scary. Whenever I'm in the hospital and I asked for the epidural, there wasn't any, there weren't any risks given to me. Nothing was explained, which I think is a little scary. And so just be prepared for that. Like, know what you're getting into before you go. And don't expect for them to, give you a list of, what's in the epidural and what are the risks and what are the side effects and what does it do to your baby? Because those are all important things for you to know before you go. And don't expect for the hospital to tell you that. So the fifth thing on my list is to know what delayed cord clamping means to your OBGYN or hospital. So for me, I knew that I wanted to do delayed cord clamping, which that meant that I wanted to wait until the cord stopped pulsing and turned white before we cut the cord. So when I went to one of my OBGYN appointments, I asked, hey, I want to do delayed cord clamping. Do you guys do that? And she's like, yeah, we do that for everybody. Like, that's the standard practice. So I thought that was what was going to happen. I thought that was normal. Sorry, my puppy is excited for some reason. Okay, and jumping on me. Buddy, get down. Okay. I did not realize that just meant that they delayed it like 1 to 5 minutes after my baby came out. So really make sure you clarify that if that's something that's important to you. I believe it's called optimal cord clamping if you wait the 45 minutes to an hour for it to stop pulsing and turn white. So just know the difference and make sure if that's something that's important to you, you do that because whenever your baby is born and you see their precious little face and all of this stuff just happened and you can't believe like that came out of you, you're definitely, if you're like me, you're definitely not thinking like, oh, let's wait for the cord clamping and then they just cut it. Like, so make sure that you know that beforehand. Okay, the sixth thing on my list is to know what meconium is. So I had heard the word before. I took the Built to Birth course, which I can link below. I think it was really awesome and helpful resource. But I know she mentions it in the course, but I didn't fully understand what it was. And so whenever my water broke, there was like a slight like yellowy green tinge to it. So when I got to the hospital and they saw that, they were like, oh no, you're on a time clock. Like you have 18 hours to get this baby out. This is really bad for your baby. And then also whenever I gave birth, a whole like NICU team comes in. So there's a lot of people who don't need to be in there. And they like immediately whisk your baby off to get any type of meconium out. Because sometimes it can get into their lungs, which can not be good for the baby. So I, every time I'm going to the bathroom, whenever I'm in labor, which is a lot, I'm seeing this like yellowy green stuff coming out of me. And every time I'm more and more afraid. And honestly, that time clock is what pushed me to get that epidural because I wanted to get my baby out because I thought that the faster I could get him out, the safer it would be. And I was really scared and I had a lot of anxiety about it. So I wish I would have known more about it before going in. I'll link some podcasts below so you can listen to those and do your own research. But just know that it can be a variation of normal. Like it happens in about 10% of normal pregnancies. And it doesn't mean that your baby had some stressful event. It can just happen and it can be okay. And just because you have meconium doesn't mean your baby is going to have an issue. So anyways, I would just suggest that you know what meconium is and be prepared just in case that happens so you can feel at peace and not have that anxiety that I had. So the last thing on my list would be to not have a hospital birth. So, I talked to my husband about having potentially a birth at a birth center and he didn't feel comfortable with it. So I just let it go and we had our hospital birth and I made plans to do that instead of going and doing more research and figuring out really, really what would be best for us. And so I think that mom and baby, they know best. Yes, it's important because your husband or partner is the second half of your baby, but also, if you're the mother, like you're going to make the best decision for your child. And so I think that it's really important if you have a little bit of give, if you have a little pushback from your husband or partner about, where to give birth, do more research, show them more research, and ultimately you should have the say-so of where you give birth because you know best, you know what is best for you and your baby. And I also wish I would have done research to show like how safe home birth is, and God created our bodies to give birth. Like we know if you have a normal pregnancy and you're healthy, there's no reason why you can't give birth at home. So next time around, that's definitely what I'm going to be planning. Okay, so I have to wrap this up for obvious reasons. Just to reiterate from before, I think any way you give birth is really awesome. It's so special. It's like so amazing what our bodies can do. So whether you have a C-section or an epidural or a home birth, a free birth, birth center birth, whatever you do, like I think it's all amazing. Any way you bring a child into this world is awesome. And this is just, if you are... Okay, yeah. Anyways, any way you bring a baby into this world, it's really amazing, really awesome. And hopefully if you are planning a unmedicated birth, hopefully this helps you get the birth that you really deserve. Anyways, thanks for watching.